You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, guys. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here in East Greenbush, New York. Still the only live streaming sports webcast here in East Greenbush. Good to have you all with me today. So get myself settled a little bit. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, guys. We're going to talk about the NCAA outlook. We're going to talk about some Major League Baseball talk, some NBA talk, Carson Wentz trade. Oh, gosh. And then we're going to have Jim Beringer on to talk a little bit about some of the interesting stuff that went on at the NBA Outdoor Classic yesterday. It's too bad. You know, I think outside of the Stanley Cup playoffs, I think it's the signature event for the NHL every year, and it's a fun event to be played outside. But they had some problems yesterday with weather and ice and whatnot. Just working on my lights here, guys. That's good. It's bad. It's good. It's bad. Good morning, Bill Pulver. You are early today. So again, I want to thank all the groups that let me share the show to them. Obviously, as I've stated every show, if I post to your group, there'll be relevant content. We had some interesting back and forth with some people on some topics this week, which I'll jump into as I get to them. They'll come up probably in part of the discussions that we talk about today. But as I bring up topics, and guys, try to stay within the topic that I'm on, I guess, at the moment. But I want your input. You know, as always, I like to go back and forth with you guys here on Sunday mornings a little bit. And we can talk about any topics that you want to within the segment that we're on. We're going to start quickly today with the NBA. I've got a lot to cover in both the NCAA and MLB today. And the NFL, actually, if I want to get into it. I may have more than I can cover, but we'll see what we can do. And I thank all of you, by the way. I did thank the groups again for allowing me to share the content, viewership, joining, following the show. But you guys that are here live, man. Sorry, we got a little frog this morning. You guys that show up live are important too. So I appreciate that. All of you that show up live and all of you that watch it later. By the way, I want to thank my guest from Friday, Dick Hoops Weiss, legendary sports writer. College basketball is his forte. He covers everything, but college basketball is his stomping ground. And he was great Friday. We talked a lot about the NCAA, where it's at, where we're heading as we headed, getting close to conference tournaments. And getting close to Selection Sunday, only a couple of weeks away now. So, and, sorry. Jim Beringer. Jim Beringer, like I said, will be on at 11:30. Sorry, guys, a little distracted here. Let me send him a message back. Okay, so anyway, a lot of stuff. Thanks to Dick Weiss for Friday's show. Next Friday, we're going to have Matt Brust on, former St. John's standout. Started his career at North Carolina and with the legendary Dean Smith, who we have some interesting thoughts on, and moved to St. John's and played for another legendary coach, Lou Carnesecca. Played for a short time in the NBA with a legendary player you might know of by the name of Jordan. So we'll talk about all of that with Matt Brust next Friday. But today, let's start out with, I guess, the NBA, guys. I just want to talk about, we got the NBA selections. As far as the Knicks go, there's not a lot Not a lot has changed, I guess, since we chatted last week. As I mentioned when I was on the Mac and Jack show Sunday, the Knicks are 14-16. They're now in the 8th seed. They're playing some up and down basketball, which we expected, but they're getting some great effort every week. Bad game against Orlando their last time out when they had a chance to get to 500, but still playing really good defensive basketball, playing hard. Some interesting things going on with RJ Barrett. Wow, I don't know what that was. He's playing very well, and Derrick Rose has been a great influence on both Barrett and Quickly. Quickly, I love. But Barrett recently, Thibodeau has a habit of not playing Barrett in fourth quarters. And I got to make sure that, I love the fact that Rose came in here, as I mentioned, and I love the influence he can have on these young guys, and he can still play and play at a high level. And he's a Thibodeau favorite. I just don't want to see it stunt the growth of the kids, Barrett, Quickly. And I don't think I hope that won't happen. I don't think that's why Barrett has sat the fourth quarters or a lot of fourth quarters in a lot of these games. He's struggled sometimes down the stretch. He's played well in places, but he's very up and down yet. He's a young guy. He's 20 years old. And again, I talked recently about the fact that Barrett and Randle were piling up too many minutes. So I can't have it both ways. Good morning, Dave Guyette. See you're here. Good to see you. Bill Pulver beat you in the room this morning, by the way. So again, while they need to, before the trade, Barrett was leading the league in minutes played, so not a good spot, right? You don't want to burn these guys out, especially here in February, heading into March, when you've got a long playoff road if you should get there, but or even towards the finish line of the season. So it's interesting that Barrett's playing time has kind of dwindled a bit there, but we'll see how that all washes out. Some rumors around the Knicks, as I mentioned last week, or Brandon Beal. I'd love to see Bradley Beal come here. I said Bradley Beal come here. Great player. Got into a little discussion about it with Jack on the Mac and Jack show. Jack Hirsch feels he's nothing more than a Carmelo clone, because I was talking about black holes. We don't have black holes on the Knicks right now where the ball goes in and never comes out. It's one of the things that's fun to watch about this team. The ball moves. We don't have a Carmelo where it goes and it stays. And he mentioned Bradley Beal being that type of player, and I don't necessarily agree. Bradley Beal is averaging 30 points a game, but he's also averaging 5 assists a game. And I believe around 5 rebounds. So he is a complete player. Problem is, the Knicks want to get a Bradley Beal. They're going to have to give up a lot of stuff to get him. You're not getting him for second-round draft picks like they did Rose. They're not getting him without giving up a player in turn. So I'm not trading Quickly. I can tell you right now, Quickly cannot be traded. But we'll see how that goes. They also had some talk about trading for Drummond from the Cleveland center, with Robinson out for an extended period of time. I got to be honest with you, I don't know that. I mean, his salary isn't that prohibitive, but I don't know if I'm trading anything of value for Drummond at this point. I mean, I think Noel and Gibson can handle that position. That position is not asked to do anything except, crash the boards and play defense. And Noel and Gibson have done that very well. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. As I mentioned again Friday, that this is a touchy time. Leon Rose, we're coming up on the 1-year mark of Leon Rose taking over the presidency of the team. He was a former player agent. It doesn't always work well, as the Mets found out. But he's done a great job up until this point. Number one, getting Thibodeau as his coach, changed the whole culture. The culture has changed tremendously. And that's a big part of that is Thibodeau and the people that he's brought in. Kenny Payne was a great addition to this staff. He was the assistant head coach was his title at Kentucky under John Calipari, but he's been a huge addition to this coaching staff, and he's helped these kids along greatly. A lot of them who played for him at Kentucky, including Quickly and Randle. Julius Randle, I can't say enough about. His transformation in the offseason and the way he transformed his game has been amazing. So enough about the Knicks. Knicks are kind of where they were last week. We're going to see if anything happens trade-wise. We'll keep you guys abreast. Again, I believe we'll be battling to stay around 500. Maybe they can get a little better than 500 here in the second part of the season and battle, 6, 7, 8 spot in the playoffs. But sooner or later, you got to start to win. That's the other part of Leon Rose's issue. Fans let back in the Garden this week, by the way, guys. Starting the 23rd. So that's coming up Tuesday, I guess. I know against the Warriors. Forgot the second team that they're playing. It slipped my mind here. Let's see. Do I have it written down from Friday? I don't. But it doesn't really matter. Sold those games out in 30 minutes, 2,000 seats a game. Fans will matter. Fans will make a big difference. Even 2,000, as we've seen in the NFL. And this year's fine to battle, get a few games over 500, hopefully, battle for the 6th, 7th, or 8th spot in the East, which is not very strong. But sooner or later, you got to start really putting it together. You can't keep winning. Just being 500 team is not going to cut it here in New York, and we know that. So the next steps that Leon Rose makes are going to be huge, whether it's trading for a Bradley Beal, whether it's signing other free agents. They got to mesh with the guys that you have. Quickly is a future star. He's a guy that I've said it since the beginning, was a steal of this draft. A lot of teams are going to rue the day they passed on him. Real quick with the Nets. The Nets are playing really well. Just finished a 5-0 West Coast trip without Kevin Durant for any of those games. Still suffering from COVID-19 effects. And they swept the West Coast trip, including blowing out the Lakers in L.A. They're now 19-12 with a second seed. Maybe things are going to work there. I've been a little harsh on the Nets. I haven't been that harsh on the Nets. James Harden came in and he said he was going to change his game, and he has. He's not putting the ball up, every time he touches it. He's distributing and making the offense run through him. Kyrie Irving's come back and played very well. Made the All-Star team. We'll talk about the All-Star lineups in a second. But I still worry about the Kyrie Irving dynamic on that team. So we'll see, but I got to give the Nets credit. They're playing well. 19-12, second seed in the East. Doing a great job. Moving on real quick. Oh, by the way, the Jazz lost a game this week. Hard to believe. The Jazz, Utah Jazz, one of the great stories of this NBA season. Quinn Snyder's done a great job out there. And I can't say enough about how well they're playing, but they actually lost a game this week. So that means they've only won maybe, I don't know the exact number. 19 or the last 21, something like that. So they're really not playing great basketball. No, they're playing great basketball. They're first in the West. The West is really loaded, guys, especially at the top. In the East, your top teams are the Nets and the Sixers. Everybody else, the Bucks are starting to turn it around, but they're still not playing well. But out West, you got the Clippers playing great. You got Utah, as I just mentioned, on top. You got the Lakers, the defending champions, playing well. They're without Anthony Carter for a while. But Carter will be back, and LeBron has shown he can carry teams for long stretches. Okay, great player. And the only other piece of little news I wanted to check on, interestingly enough, DeMarcus Cousins is going to cut ties with yet another team. The Rockets and DeMarcus supposedly have come to a decision to part ways here in the coming days. Missed all last year with injury. Great player, kind of a interesting personality. Doesn't always clash with his or mesh with his coaches and his teammates, but he's a great player. So he'll end up somewhere. I don't know that he's a guy I want to throw in the mix of this Knicks locker room, to be honest with you, but they seem to be in love with ex-Kentucky guys. So we'll see. It might be interesting. As I mentioned, the All-Star starting lineups were announced this week. Just to give you a quick rundown here, Kyrie Irving, the president of the Flat Earth Society, is one of the starters from the Brooklyn Nets. Bradley Beal, as we've been talking about, from the Wizards, having a remarkable season. Kevin Durant, averaging 30 points a game almost, 29 and change, is one of the starters, even though he's missed a lot of time. Giannis, the Greek Freak, I will not attempt his last name, from the Bucks, and Joel Embiid, who's playing really well from the Philadelphia Sixers, are the starters on the East. When you go out west, you've got Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks, just a tremendous player. The Mavericks are going to be an interesting team in the second half out west, I think. They've got some really good pieces, and their health will kind of determine, as it does with a lot of teams, their wealth. Their wealth will determine how well they do. Bill Pulver's commenting on, shouldn't Utah be named the Shakers because they're known for salt? Yes, we do know they came from New Orleans, and that's where the Jazz name came from. Does it really feel like it fits in Utah? Probably not, but it's hard a lot of times for these teams to change their names. Guys, sorry about this little boo-boo I have on my head here. I was taking some recyclables around back yesterday and forgot about the bad spot I have on the path around the house where the water catches. Took a little header and hit the shrub, cut my ear, cut my head. Ugh, getting old. Where was I? West starters. Luka Doncic we talked about. Stephen Curry. Steph's had a great I hate to call it a comeback season, but he has. The Warriors are playing better than they played last year, much better than they played last year, even with Thompson out, and still some issues out there. I think Steve Kerr's doing a great coaching job. LeBron James was the number one vote getter, I think, for the fourth straight year, if I'm not mistaken. And also we have Jokic from the Denver Nuggets, who are also a very good team out west, and Kawhi Leonard from the Clippers, who is, again, a tremendous player. Any takeaways? I don't know. If you guys have any comments here, I will add one thing. Let me talk about the starters first. Obviously, LeBron, we just talked about. You can say what you want about LeBron. He's a great player. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. I see Rick Sherlock has jumped in the room. LeBron's a great player. You can say what you want about him. I have no idea. This is a lot like, to me, like the Tom Brady, Derek Jeter arguments I always have. LeBron's a great player. LeBron plays the game hard every night. LeBron doesn't take nights off on the court like other guys have in the past. But there's a lot of guys that hate him because he's so good and he wins. He gets ripped for going to Miami, teaming up with a bunch of great players. Well, he won with horrible players in Cleveland. He won with great players in Miami. He won with great players with the Lakers, but he could go somewhere else and make more money. Again, the money he makes is fine. He makes a lot of money, but often he's taking less to win. We get on guys for just taking the money, but then when they do take less money, we get on them for that. Again, Steph Curry seems to get taken for granted sometimes, but he's having a season that could keep him in the MVP conversation if the Warriors don't fall off the map here. He's had some injuries. The team's had some injuries, and he's played very well. So, yes, LeBron is a good person. LeBron does a lot of good things. Thank you, Billy Pulver. I'm going to put up the next other comment because we're not going down that road today. Watch my vlog from 2 weeks ago, Bill. You'll get all my comments about crybabies. Any other things I want to talk about? Bradley Beal's probably got a chip on his shoulder, right? His first All-Star selection, starting All-Star selection, where he probably warranted one the last 4 years. And he was named a reserve 2 of those years and missed the team altogether 2 of those years. So Bradley Beal gets some much due respect, I think. Yeah, and then it's going to come down to the reserves, and that's going to be there's going to be guys that get left out. I'm going to tell you right now, one guy that cannot get left out of this conversation is Julius Randle. Tremendous player. His numbers are great. Leads the Knicks in, I believe he leads the Knicks in points, rebounds, assists. He does it all, and he does it every night. And his defense is better. Julius Randle needs to be on the East All-Star team, and if he's not, it would be a travesty. I'd be shocked if he's not there, by the way. So, that's really all I'm going to cover, I think, on the Knicks tonight. That NBA All-Star game, by the way, is March 7th at 8 p.m. I'm thinking likely on ESPN. Now, I will say this about the All-Star game. I hope the NBA starts to get it together. And their NBA games, their All-Star games have become a joke. And don't, please, NBA, do something to make it right. I think last year's was a little better, but nobody wants to see 180 to 175. Play some defense. I think if we had an All-Star game, yeah, we did have an All-Star game last year. Yeah, the COVID shutdown, I think, came right after. Guys, it's the worst All-Star game. You have the worst All-Star game right now. You have a great weekend leading up to it with the three-point shot and dunk competitions. There's some argument whether they've gotten old, but you have a futures game, which is really good with the young guys playing. But come on, guys. Play some defense. Play a real game. I turn on an All-Star game from the 70s and the 80s, even the 90s. These guys were playing well. $2 million 3 years? Absolutely. He probably deserves it. He's a great player. He's one of the best players in the East right now. I can tell you right now. He'll be a huge building block for these Knicks going forward. We'll talk more about salaries and stuff. Salaries are relevant. It's all relevant in sports, guys. We can't relate to the money. And I may contradict myself later on when I talk about somebody, but my opinion is always, if somebody's willing to pay you, you're worth the money. Should school teachers make more money? Absolutely. Should servicemen make more money, have better benefits? Absolutely. Firemen, police, yes. Nobody's paying to see them do their jobs, and they're very important jobs, obviously, but we aren't paying. You want salaries to go down? Stop watching. I'm not saying no. Good morning, Kenny Gifford and followers. Keith and followers. I guess that's all, you guys. Rick, Kenny. You guys had a little conversation in the room last week. We welcome Kenny. We're going to move on. Let's see. What else do I have to talk about quickly here? I may jump around a little bit. 11:30 is when we'll have Jim Beringer on. By the way, we'll talk about the NHL Classic. I want to talk a little bit about the NCAA. I guess I'll move on to the NCAA right now. So the conference tournaments are coming closer. Some of the selections for, I don't think it's Frank Gifford. Billy, well, Kenny, it could be called worse things than Frank Gifford, I guess. Look at The NCAA picture's coming into view. The conference tournaments are getting closer. We're going to start them very soon, probably as soon as next week, with some of them, the smaller conferences, and then we lead up to the big guys finishing up that weekend before Selection Sunday. I'm still there's still some rumblings out there that some of the top teams may not play in conference tournaments because they know they're assured of an NCAA tournament. Now, there's got to be contracts in place. I mean, there's a lot of money involved in these conference tournaments with TV contracts and whatnot, and you can't have the best teams in conferences opting out. It's getting late. It's getting very, very late. But the NCAA could still step in here and say the automatic berths go to the regular season championships in each league. Because if you have a Gonzaga or a Baylor, or I guess the West Coast Conference is one of the places that there's an issue because Gonzaga and BYU have given rumblings of sitting out their conference tournament, and that would create at least one at-large bid that is gone for somebody else because Gonzaga, most likely, again, they'd have to. We're assuming they would win those tournaments, one of those two teams. This can't happen. The NCAA can't let that happen, and I really pray it doesn't because it's going to really kind of mess up with the Selection Sundays process. If you have teams that would likely have won conference tournaments, again, some teams are going to get left out that shouldn't be. Or maybe some teams will get in that probably shouldn't as well right now. So again, I hope the NCAA does something about that because I don't think it's should be something that should happen. Let's talk a little bit. I want to go. There's some teams that have found themselves in big trouble recently, right? We talked about the Blue Bloods, Duke. Duke had a big win yesterday against Virginia. Probably put themselves on the bubble. They're still not in the tournament, but they put themselves on the bubble. Kentucky's not making the tournament. North Carolina's not making the tournament. I'm sorry, North Carolina probably will make the tournament now. Michigan State's not making the tournament. Kentucky, I said. There's a couple other teams that are escaping me right now. Syracuse is in trouble. Syracuse has been on the bubble, it seems, for the last 7 or 8 years. Jim Boeheim now. There's some trouble. There's some trouble in Syracuse. They are not attracting the level of player that they attracted in the past. Partly because of Mike Hopkins leaving a few years ago. Their top recruiters I mentioned. Jim Boeheim's getting up in age, 76. Not sure. But there were some big wins yesterday. I won't go through the whole scoreboard. It's not like football where I can do that. But Gonzaga rolled. Gonzaga's got a great team, guys. Gonzaga is no longer a mid-major. They play in a mid-major conference. They're not a mid-major. They are a power school. Let me back up here for a second to Kenny's comment. I don't know that Jim Boeheim's the most overrated coach of all time. I mean, I guess you could say that. He's had some talented teams, but he's also got some really teams with less talent than should have reached the Final Four have reached the Final Four. I think Jim Boeheim's a great coach. He gets a lot of heat. He's a guy you either love or you hate. What are you going to do? But again, that's what the shows are for. Opinions. All opinions count, unless they're just really out in left field. Like, I won't mention anybody's names. What else? Minnesota, Joe Lunardi, I'm going to talk about Joe Lunardi's bracketology here in a second, but he's got them in a tournament. They haven't won a road game. They're 0-9 on the road. And they got blown out by Illinois yesterday. There's no way this team's in a tournament. I'd be shocked if they're even on the bubble. They're 13-10 overall. Can't be on the bubble. Duke, I said, with a great win at home yesterday against Virginia. We're going to talk a little bit about some other issues at Duke in a minute. but that caused a ruckus with some of my posts this week. I'm going to have to get into your guys' conversation about Saturday basketball in a little bit, but not right now. Don't let me forget to revisit. Alabama, the surprising Alabama Crimson Tide, not the football team, the basketball team, number 8 in the country, fighting for a number 1 seed. Definitely a number 2 right now. Great win yesterday. Oklahoma rolls. Villanova with a big win over UConn. UConn I see on the bubble of the Big East teams that I think have a chance to get in. I think they're going to get 5 teams in, but I think St. John's and UConn are kind of on the bubble for that last spot. I think UConn is in trouble with this loss, and I think St. John's, unless they flop the rest of the year, the momentum that they have right now, the win over Villanova, if they don't flop in the tournament or get blown out by Villanova this week, we're going to talk a little bit about that, too, in a minute when I get to the brackets, Kenny, about the big names and getting in just because of ratings and whatnot. We'll talk a little bit about that, especially this year. West Virginia, very underrated team. I may have them. They're one of my sleepers to get to the Final Four, to be honest with you. They beat Texas, who I talked to Dick Weiss about this on Friday. I just see Texas as a bit overrated. They played really well early in the year. They had some starts and stops like everybody has, and they've kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit. Kansas gets a big win yesterday. They needed it. Kansas has been reeling recently. They did get back into the top 25 last week, and they had a big win against Texas Tech. Another one of my underrated teams, Florida State and Leonard Hamilton. 13-3, 9-2 in the ACC. I don't think they were even ranked in that top 16, the first top 16 that came out 2 weeks ago. I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, I apologize. You guys are getting a little ahead of me, and I'll share some of these comments when I get to talking about the tournament here in a second, but more about the tournament. Well, I'm actually talking about the tournament now. Interestingly enough, I just mentioned that Kentucky's out. There's no way they're getting in. They're 8-13, not getting in. But they did beat number 19 Tennessee, hurt Tennessee really badly yesterday. USC, who I liked a lot, got beat by Arizona yesterday. Arizona, I don't think can even play in the tournament. Missouri, a bit underrated, wins big against South Carolina, bad South Carolina team. San Diego State, always has a really solid team, especially once we get to tournament time. And they win yesterday pretty big over Fresno State. That's an interesting league there. That's all I'm probably going to touch on. Michigan State did get a win over Indiana. Indiana's been kind of on the bubble. We'll talk about that in a second when I get to Lunardi's stuff. But I don't. Michigan State's out. They'd have to. Well, they're 11-9, 5-9 they'd have to make a really deep run into the Big Ten tournament to have any chance to get in. Michigan State. Siena with a bad loss against Niagara yesterday. Siena and Monmouth have been fighting for the top spot locally here, of local interest to us. I will comment on this before I forget it. Kentucky cannot get in the tournament, Bill, unless they win the SEC. Sorry, I thought that was a Bill Pulver comment. Kenny says Kentucky, a 16 seed, beats Gonzaga. Kentucky's not getting in unless they win the SEC tournament, which could happen, I guess. I mean, I'm not saying it could happen. But right now, they're definitely not getting in that large bid. Other games of note: North Georgia Tech wins yesterday. Not a great win, but see if anything else stands out. Loyola, that's not the right Loyola. Well, back to the MAC. I mean, Monmouth also lost to Iona yesterday, so things are kind of in flux in the MAC. The MAC's going to be a one-bid league, obviously. So whoever wins that tournament's going to get in. The rest of this regular season is just about seeding, right? I talked about BYU a few minutes ago. They won big against Loyola Marymount, and that's all I think we need to cover as far as scores go. So let's jump into the bracketology a little bit. So I usually base my comments off of Joe Lunardi from ESPN and his rankings. So we know who his first four were. His number one seeds at the moment are Gonzaga, the number one seed, Baylor, the number two seed, Ohio State, I think, was 3, and Michigan 4, as far as the number one seeds go. I have no argument there. That'll probably change. Again, I think that as far as the number one seeds go, no matter what happens the rest of the way out, Baylor and Gonzaga are there. Ohio State and Michigan could swap places or fall out altogether. Because look, I still think Alabama's in play, depending on tournament play, of course. I'm not sure what Kenny's money. If he's talking about Kentucky getting in, it isn't going to matter. Money cannot get an 8-13 team in the tournament unless they win their conference tournament. As far as the number two seeds that could move up to the number one line, I think, and I'm looking at Lunardi's. This is not necessarily the NCAA 16 that they picked last week. I think it's possible that Alabama could move up to that number one line. I do think it's possible that I had one other team here I thought could move up, and I've lost track of them, so I apologize. I thought Virginia could move up before yesterday. That's going to hurt them. I think it's still possible Florida State. They're on a bullet. They win the ACC tournament. Watch out. They're going to be at least a 2, and they could get to that number one line. But there's some teams that are hot, guys, that are going to be going into the tournament hot. As far as the last 4 teams in right now, Lunardi's got Indiana. I've had Indiana out before yesterday's loss. Right now, he cannot have them in. I don't have Xavier in. I've got St. John's in that spot. Drake, I agree with. Very good. They've had a very good season this year. They beat Loyola Chicago, who was ranked and playing great basketball. And North Carolina sitting right on that last 4 byes. These are the last 4 byes. I'm sorry. The last 4 in are Maryland. Minnesota cannot be in a tournament. I'm sorry. You haven't won a road game. They're under 500 in the conference. Can't happen. St. Bonaventure, I love St. Bonaventure. They got to get in a tournament. But the problem is, I think they're third in their conference right now. Again, regular season. They got to play well in the tournament. Stanford has played well out west. It's going to be tough for the Pac-12 to get more than a couple of, maybe 3 seeds. His first 4 out, UConn. I've got UConn out as well. Colorado State. St. Louis was highly ranked early in the year. Had a long shutdown, the second longest shutdown to Iona for coronavirus. Iona didn't play for 53 days. And St. Louis wasn't quite that long, but here 2 weeks ago, they still only played 7 games and no conference games. So Utah State is also one of the first 4 out. His next 4 out are St. John's. I've got St. John's in the tournament. Ole Miss, Syracuse, and SMU. SMU's on a bubble, I think, and I think Syracuse is closer to the bubble of getting in than being out. They had a nice win yesterday. Problem with Syracuse is no signature wins. They don't have any bad losses, really, but they don't have any big wins. So I think this is going to hurt them going forward. It's all going to matter. What's really going to matter is the conference tournaments. And again, go back to Kenny's comment here. I'm not sure if I can find it. Here we go. So the big names will get in just because of ratings. Yeah, I think he's talking about television ratings. I get it, but you can't do that this year. You can't put Kentucky in the tournament, as I said. Let me go through some of these leagues real quick. I don't want to take too much time because I got a lot of time to talk about the NFL, and I may have to skip my quarterback carousel. We'll see what we get to there. Whatever. Let's go through the conferences quick. Look at this conference. One bid conferences. America East, one bid conference. Vermont, really good. Got beat the other night, but and then you got UMBC, who beat Tennessee a couple of years ago. The only 16 ever to win. Some of these teams have varying records. Some teams have played as many as almost 20 games. Other teams have played 10. So the eye test is more important than ever. And if the NCAA selection committee doesn't use it and does some of the things that Billy talked about, you can't get a Kentucky in there who just, is under 500, not as an at-large. Automatic bids are a different story. I've never been a big fan of the conference tournaments determining conference champions anyway, to be honest with you. You played a whole season for seeding in a conference tournament, and I still think the regular season winners ought to get in. And I don't know, maybe the conference tournaments can be determined at large for some of these conferences. Didn't use it for football. We're talking about the eye test, probably. I don't disagree. My feelings on the football playoff, Billy, but we're talking about 68 teams, not 4. And again, it's easier to let some of these bigger names in. And I don't have a problem because the tournament's better with North Carolina in it and Duke in it. If those teams get in, you're potentially going to see them play in the first 4. So they don't get a bye that first round. That first round, remember, is 4 games played in Dayton. Well, not in Dayton this year, but they're really playing games. So the AAC, my favorite conference, actually for football, and it's becoming one of my favorite conferences for basketball. Interesting enough, Houston, who was ranked in the top, the first 16 release that the NCAA did, they are not even leading their conference now in the regular season. Wichita State is on a 5-game winning streak and is leading that league. I can see them there's possibility they get 4 bids. Wichita State, Houston, Memphis, and SMU. Again, if Duke gets a pass into the tournament, that's going to hurt these teams. If Syracuse gets in, not sure what that one's about. You're kind of getting my rankings. I'm telling you who should be in. I think last week I agreed with the top 16, Billy. As far as the first 4, but the top ranked teams, I agree that Gonzaga is the best team in the country by far. If you've watched them play, they're a great team. Baylor could lose some momentum with the COVID issues that they've had recently. But I'm giving you my opinions right now on who I think should get in. As we get closer to the conference tournaments next week, we're going to be talking a lot more about this. And I may go live from time to time during some of those tournament games. The A10, probably going to be a one bid league, most likely, unless St. Bonaventure gets a bid. VCU is pretty good in that league, and they could win a couple games. They've had a history of doing well in the first weekend. ACC, it's a down year for the ACC. Florida State's the best team in that league, them and Virginia. Virginia Tech's had a good year, but again, I don't see those really signature wins. Same as Syracuse. Vags have been here before. You just can't make it. Well, they made it to the final and barely lost. to a great North Carolina team. Would be Billy's talking about COVID still change things. I agree. COVID's still out there, guys. It hasn't gone away. Remember, all of the NCAA conference tournament games are being played in Indianapolis and 4 or 5 sites. So it's as much of a bubble as the NCAA can do and still get all these games in. They're taking precautions. You got to test. You got to have 7 negative tests the week before you go to even be able to go. Now, what's going to happen if these teams get there and then they test positive and teams can't play and there's buys? It could throw the tournament into chaos. Pray that doesn't happen. Back to the ACC. I mean, again, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're going to get 6 or 7 bids, depending on Duke. Duke now has put themselves on a bubble. They're 8-8 in the conference, 10-8 overall. Syracuse 7-5, 13-6, but again, no signature wins. Big 12 is a great conference, very deep. Baylor, Oklahoma, Kansas, West Virginia. One of my sleepers, West Virginia. Texas, they're going to get in, but I can see them losing the first game. Oklahoma State on the bubble, Texas Tech on the bubble. Big East, Villanova's in. Creighton's in. Seton Hall, UConn, St. John, Xavier, all jockeying for position. I don't see Xavier getting in. I see Seton Hall and St. John's getting in. There might be 4 bids. There might be 5. It all depends on how the tournaments Duke is just like Kentucky. They're not in, Kenny. They're not in. Right now, they're not in. There's not a guy out there who does the bracketology and the rankings who has them in. And that's the NCAA isn't just Duke's body of work. Up until yesterday, they weren't in. They just moved to the bubble. They're playing better. They're playing better without Jalen Johnson, which I'll talk about in a second. I'll get to Kentucky, by the way, and why they won't be in here in a second. Big Sky, 1 big conference. Big South, 1 big conference. Big Ten, 1 bid conference. Big Ten's going to get a bunch. Big Ten's really, really deep. Michigan, Illinois, Ohio State. Illinois could get up to that 1 line. Well, they have, they got a really good team. Playing well, too. 7 in a row. Ohio State, 7 in a row. A sleeper team I love, Iowa. Iowa Hawkeyes. Big fan of Fran McCaffrey. Did great things here at Siena. Problem is they don't play much defense. If they can go there and just shoot lights out, they got a shot of at least making a regional final. I might have them as a long shot into the Final Four. I got to see the brackets before I pick a Final Four, right? It's possible to do right now. But Purdue's got a shot. They're on the bubble. Wisconsin's on a bubble. Rutgers is in. It's a good example for you, Kenny. Rutgers has struggled. They're 8-8 in the league. They're 12-8 overall, but they've been on fire. That's not a name. That's not somebody the networks want in. Rutgers is likely in the tournament. Indiana's on the bubble. I mean, they could get 9, maybe 10 teams. Minnesota, Joe Lunardi's got in. Don't know how. They're 6-10 in the conference, 13-10 overall, and 0-9 on the road. No. Big West, 1 bid. Colonial Conference, 1 bid. Conference USA, 1 bid. Horizon League, 1 bid. Metro, 1. The MAC, 1 bid. Mid-America Conference, probably 1 bid. Mid-Eastern Athletic, 1 bid. Missouri Valley Conference, Loyola and Drake. I think they get 2 bids here, unless one of them gets beat in the first round of their tournament. Who just beat Gonzaga? What are you talking about? Who just beat Gonzaga, Billy? Nobody's beat Gonzaga. What are you talking about? Gonzaga's undefeated. Are you saying just beat Gonzaga? Not sure what you're talking about there. You got to give me a little context. Sometimes your guys' comments are a little short, and once I'm on a different topic or some other stuff's gone through here, I'm not sure what the context is. So Help me out there, Bill. Where was I? Now I lost my place. Missouri Valley, 2 good teams. Loyola Chicago, very good. One of those mid-major teams that's really, really good. They got a really good coach. They got really good veteran play, veteran guard play, very important. Kenny Rogers reported. I don't know what Billy's talking about. Mountain West could be too big. There's a league that again, not a power league, and this is where I disagree with Kenny. They got 3 good teams: Boise State, San Diego State, even Utah State. They got 4 teams with a shot at getting there. Probably only going to get 2, maybe 3 bids. But you better watch out. San Diego State, 8 in a row. Always tough this time of year. Northeast Conference, 1 bid. Wagner likely there. Ohio Valley, 1 bid. Belmont, before I jump too far past here, Belmont, 21 wins in a row. Belmont's only lost 2 games in the last 2 years. Now, I know there's no tournaments last year, but Belmont is a sleeper. Always plays well in a tournament. Always shows up. Always represents. Sometimes they win. Kenny Gifford figured it out. Wants someone to beat the Zags. Oh, okay. Kenny, I'm glad you're in the room because we always have trouble deciphering Billy. Sometimes I speak Billy very well. And sometimes I don't. Rutgers may be playing game. I think Rutgers is probably not going to be they're going to get a bye. They're not going to play in that playing game, I don't think. Pac-12, not very deep, not very strong. USC's got a little bit underrated, but they had a bad loss yesterday to Arizona. UCLA, the record's there, but really, again, no signature wins. They'll get in. And then you got maybe Oregon, maybe Colorado, and maybe Stanford. So, again, I don't think they're getting 5 bids. So I think those 3 teams may be fighting for 1 bid. So maybe a 3-bid league. Patriot League, obviously 1-bid league. Come on. All right, now we get to the SEC. Kenny's favorite topic. Just to go back to this comment, Duke is just like Kentucky. They're in. I'll tell you who's in. Alabama's in. LSU in. Arkansas in. Florida maybe. Tennessee, I would have said was yesterday. Missouri probably in. Ole Miss no. I haven't even got to Kentucky in its ranked standings yet, by the way. Kentucky 7-7 in the league, 8-13 overall. Teams with under 500 records, and they don't have enough games left. Well, again, unless they make a deep run in a tournament, they don't even have enough games left to play over 500 basketball unless they win the conference tournament. They win a conference tournament, then yes, they're in. They get to the finals, maybe they get considered for an at-large because they get over 500. Oh, nada. Kenny posted that Kentucky beats the Zags. I'll take credit for my own guess. Don't piss Kenny off. Billy. Anyway, Southeast Conference, not a good year this year for the Southeast Conference, guys. Not to take anything from Alabama, not from the job that Nathan Oates has done there. He's done a great job. There was a lot of controversy about his hire. He came from Buffalo. They didn't think he could recruit down south and compete in a big conference like the SEC after coming from a mid-major and a small, not a basketball, historically strong basketball school. I mean, Buffalo's been very good the last few years, but I just realized I told Jim Beringer the wrong time. I'm going to be on all day if I have to wait for him till 11:30. Hang on, guys. I got to send this before I forget. Anyway, Oates has done a great job there. Sorry. Great television, Keith. Watch you texting. I got to send this. I just realized I made a major gaffe on timing. Forgot what time zone I was in. Anyway, not to take anything away from Oates. Great job with Alabama, but, Southeast Conference is not what it's been in the past. Good thing you're a radio host because your forecasts are, well, let's say, okay. Which thing are we talking about? Which forecast? If they're my weather forecast, they suck. My picks, not always so good either. Southern Conference, 1 bid. Southland Conference, 1 bid. This 1 bid. Summit League, 1 bid. Sun Belt, 1 bid. West Coast Conference, Gonzaga and Gonzaga and BYU are in, as we mentioned before. Yeah, could they sneak another win in? I don't think so. I mean, I don't see any of those other teams really getting a bid. And the Western Athletic Conference is just a 1 bid league as well. So, look right now, I've got some really, I like Gonzaga a lot. I like Baylor a lot. I can see them being in the Final Four. I can make that pick right now. They'll be in separate sides of the bracket. There's no doubt about it. I can see them making a Final Four. I can see some outsiders outside of the number 1 picks, outside of Ohio State, outside of Michigan, outside of the other teams that are ranked really high in, in the coaches poll and whatnot so far. I mean, who we got ranked high? Illinois, Houston. Houston had a bad loss the other day. Virginia with a bad loss yesterday. Alabama, Oklahoma, Villanova. I'll give you some teams that I like. Florida State, I still haven't come to. Florida State's got a really good team. Ranked 16th in the country by the coaches. I think they're a really good team. I think they got a shot to make a run to the Final Four. I think Iowa's got a chance to make it to the Final Four. I think West Virginia's got a chance. This is the most wide open tournament I can remember. Because of COVID, a lot because of these things, these one and done things that are really hurting the league, and a lot of other reasons. But we're going to talk more about it. I was going to get into Jalen Johnson today, but do I really want to? I only got a half an hour before. Well, we're good for 10:30. Okay, I might jump in. Maybe after. I might get into the. Some stuff after Jim Beringer at 10:30 when we talk about some hockey. Kid with 2 grand slams the same inning in yesterday in college. I did not see that, Kenny, but I will look for it after the show. That's a great story. I love stories like that. Let's talk a little NFL. Jumping gears, totally. First thing we got to talk about, Carson Wentz gets traded by the Eagles, forces a trade. Horrible trade by the Eagles, by the way. 3rd rounder this year, conditional 2nd rounder that could be a 1st rounder next year if he plays, I think, 75% of the downs. I don't know what the Eagles are thinking about. Again, Carson Wentz's contract made it hard to trade him. I understand that. But to get a 3rd rounder and a 2nd rounder for Carson Wentz, you can think what you want about Carson Wentz. He's got the potential to be a really good quarterback. He's coming of the age where a lot of guys really mature and start to get healthy. Are the Eagles going to go forward with Jalen Hurts as their quarterback? Didn't show me anything enough, not enough to say he's my quarterback and lead me back to the playoffs or the Super Bowl. Well, who knows what their plan is? Maybe they're going to draft a quarterback at 6. Maybe they're going to sign a free agent. Don't know. I was going to go through the carousel today, and I may do it after because I want to get into some baseball. Well, actually, I think I will do it probably quick. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the coaching, the quarterback carousel, and I'm going to give you a few picks of where I see some guys potentially landing and some rumors about where some guys are going. Kenny, I agree again. Don't always agree with Kenny. Kenny's a good guy. There's a lot of things Kenny talks about that, and I'm glad he doesn't get into them here, by the way. Thank you for that, Kenny. There's a lot of things I agree with Kenny on. There's a lot of things I don't. But I think Kenny's a reasonable guy. So that's the thing about sports. I post a lot of sports opinions. I don't get into the other stuff ever. A guy tried to make something I posted the other day political. And I'll get into it maybe when I get into the baseball segment, but it wasn't. And I don't like it being made that way. And we should be able to disagree. I put opinions out there, just my opinions, guys. I think I'm entitled to an opinion, just like everybody allow on the show. Now, there's a few that are a little outrageous. They get brought up sometimes, and I get a little more heated than others because those opinions aren't necessarily they're based on innuendo and whatever else. But for the most part, everybody is, I don't know what he said there. What? I don't know what that is. I shouldn't put all your guys' posts up. Anyway. So Jalen Hurts leaves them with a big hole at quarterback, and I don't know what direction they're going. I mean, they didn't have much choice. Carson Wentz did not want to stay. They paid him a lot of money, and he forced his way out. I'm not a big fan of that stuff, as you know. But Carson Wentz is probably in a great situation. I agree with Kenny. He's going to do really well with the Colts, and Frank Reich is the guy who made him a potential MVP candidate the year they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and he got hurt coming down the stretch, and Nick Foles got all the credit. As he should have. He played well. But Nick Foles is a good quarterback, a good NFL quarterback. He really is. We've seen some guys move. Matthew Stafford didn't really force a trade. Him and the Lions came to the conclusion they didn't want to stay together. And he said he would accept a trade, which he didn't have to, as long as it was to a team that had a chance to win. Now, that's another trade I don't get because the Rams on the other side of this coin gave up way too much. Way too much. Rams will be a tough out, I agree, but way too much they go from Matthew Stafford, 32 years old. Never won. I mean, again, he hasn't been surrounded by great players. I get it, but I don't know. That's just my mind. Let's talk about quarterbacks a little bit, though. I want to go through. I just want to jump through a little bit. Let's go team by team and kind of look at with the quarterback situations. And we'll talk about some of the things I'm hearing, some of the rumors I hear about teams, and who's going to be the quarterbacks. Buffalo Bills, guess there's no question there. Yeah. Kenny, we can't compare Matthew Stafford to Tom Brady in any sense of the word. Can't do it. I can't. Josh Allen, obviously the quarterback of the Bills. Miami, they got Tua. There's a lot of debate over whether Tua is a man of the future there. Guess I'm going to do baseball after the hockey update, but I want to get into a little baseball, so let's get through this quick. But there's also a chance for that they do make a move for Watson. I doubt it. I don't think Deshaun Watson's getting traded. Just an FYI. Holding in my mind. I'm not sure. Here we go. Tom Brady hour. Tell me one way Matthew Stafford compares to Tom Brady. Just one. Except they were both 33 once. I don't think Matthew Stafford's won a playoff game. Again, I know the team he plays on matters, but please, let's be smart here. New England Patriots quarterback next year. It's certainly not going to be Cam Newton. I will tell you right now, I think it's going to be one of two guys. Jimmy Garoppolo, who I think there's still a pretty good chance he's going to go back to the 49ers, but Jimmy Garoppolo or Marcus Mariota. I've heard everything from. I also have heard Ryan Fitzpatrick and Cam Newton coming back, but I don't want either one of those guys. Nothing to do with it. I can go 7-9, with Brian Hoyer. He did play in one playoff game. He never played in a Super Bowl. Oh, here I am defended Tom Brady again. Jets. Who's the Jets quarterback going to be? Darnold? I'm starting to think they're going to draft Zach Wilson. I know they should draft Devontae Smith. That's my opinion. I don't know if I want to show this without reading it. Belichick plays quarterback to prove everybody wrong. The Jets, you know what? I've said the Jets should keep Darnold and draft Devontae Smith. Probably not going to happen. I got a feeling the Jets are going to pick a quarterback. I think they're going to pick Zach Wilson here. Great quarterback, got some character issues, potentially. All the rumors are he's a spoiled brat and things like that, but I guess you got to wait till you get him on the team. Chiefs, obviously, we know who's playing there. The Raiders, I can't see Gruden giving up on Derek Carr. If he does, it's going to be Marcus Mariota, which means he's not moving to the Patriots. And then Derek Carr becomes available because you can't keep both those guys, I don't think, again. You can't keep Derek Carr in that salary as a backup. Chargers, Justin Herbert, no question there. Broncos, very interesting. So they're suddenly there's rumors going around. I'll put up Billy's Darnold for sure. I wouldn't give up, man. I hope they give up on him. I really do. I wish he'd find his way to Foxborough. Can't happen. But there's rumors with the Broncos and Deshaun Watson. Don't know that they got enough to give up. Again, I don't think Houston's going to move Deshaun Watson because I don't think they can get what he wants. You guys always get me going. Put Brady in a jet, see if he can win. He can't. And neither would Matthew Stafford. Oh, it's an argument I can't win with you guys. It's all right. Fine. 7 Super Bowls. He sucks. I get it. Watch my vlog. So anyway, I don't think the Broncos end up with I got a feeling they may draft Trey Lance here. I don't think that Drew Lock is their quarterback. I think they maybe draft Trey Lance in this spot. Steelers. It can't be Ben. If it's Big Ben, it's not going to be at $41 million a year. TJ? Who's TJ? I don't know who the quarterback's going to be here. I really don't. It's very interesting. The GM had really talked up. They signed, gosh, what's his name? Good grief. They signed the kid from Haskins from team formerly known as the Redskins. And he's talking him up like, he's got the next coming of Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, TJ Watt. He's not going to play quarterback for anybody. I know that, Kenny. But his brothers are really recruiting him heavily to go to Pittsburgh. There's some pull for him to go to Wisconsin. The Browns are after him. Wisconsin meaning, Green Bay. And also, he wants to play for a winner. He's not going to another bad situation. He could have stayed with the Texans, but Yeah, Bill, you're not going to get me to talk about Tom Brady and penalties and the interceptions. It's not going to happen. Watch my vlog. That's my coined answer from now on. Watch the vlog I did 2 weeks ago. If you can deal with my attitude, it's pretty bad in that video. It's only like 14 minutes long, though. So the Ravens or the Steelers, I have no clue. I don't think it's going to be Big Ben. I think Big Ben's all done. Ravens, no question. It's got Lamar Jackson. Cincinnati's Joe Burrow, easy. Titans, Ryan Tannehill, easy. Colts now is easy. Carson Wentz, it was a little more difficult. Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, easy. Unless something crazy happens there. The Washington football team, formerly known as the Redskins, they got some problems. They need a quarterback. Alex Smith, great comeback story last year. I just read it all over. What? Oh, whatever, Billy. This is one that's up in the air. I mean, I think they're going to sign somebody they could end up with Darnold if he gets traded. Mitchell Trubisky could be a guy who gets signed as a free agent. Again, another guy I would like the Patriots to look at is Mitchell Trubisky. I think there's upside to him that has not been utilized. Trying to move quickly here. Daniel Jones, obviously, for the Giants, no question. Cowboys, I don't think there's any question. They got to sign Dak Prescott. I know we're probably going to get some pushback from Kenny here, but he doesn't want to talk about Kenny. Andy Dalton to the Redskins. That's got to be Mac making this post, not Linda, just saying. But you can confirm or deny if you'd like. Eagles, Jalen Hurts going to be the quarterback? Come on, I can't see it. It's funny. Everything I read is Jalen Hurts is the guy that they're going to go with, but I dissed him. Kenny says I think he thinks I diss Billy all the time because, again, I agree with everybody needs their opinions. They're entitled to their opinions, but don't give away secrets. So it's a secret whether I'm talking to Mac McGrath or Linda McGrath, but I have my doubts. Back to Billy being dissed. I don't diss Billy. Billy's a good guy. He's just misled. I can understand the way the media acts why he's misled, so it's okay. Moving on. I don't know. They'll get if Philadelphia goes into the season with Jalen Hurts, and you Giant fans and Dallas fans should all be very happy. Don't think it'll happen. I don't have a pick for them, no. I'll make a pick. Justin Fields, they're going to draft. Number 6. Probably not a great pick. I'm not a big Justin Fields fan. Rams, we know, is Matthew Stafford. Cardinals, Kyle Murray. 49ers. It's going to be Deshaun Watson. Is he in the reply? Matt Ryan could be traded there. I think it'd be a great spot for Matt Ryan, to be honest with you. If they decide to rebuild, I think that's Billy's my therapist. That's why I diss on him all the time. I think Matt Ryan would be a great landing spot. 49ers would be a great landing spot for Matt Ryan. I really do. We may go long today, guys. I don't know. Green Bay, obviously. Aaron Rodgers. Minnesota Vikings. Rick, if you're still with us, I haven't seen you speak up in a while, but Kirk Cousins, I don't know that they can move him if they wanted to. And if they did move him, I don't know who would be there. So I'm going to say Kirk Cousins. There's been some talk about Denver being interested in Cousins. But again, what do? Do you trade it? Do you trade and bring back Locke and hope he can be a quarterback? Do you draft a quarterback? You're not drafting high enough, I don't think, to really get one of the top guys. Billy loves me. Great communicator, knows his stuff, excellent recall. Pronounces names horribly, though. Horribly. Oh, I guess Kirk Cousins is stuck in Minnesota. I was hoping Rick would speak up there, but he might be actually doing something important. Lions, Jared Goff, obviously they just traded for him. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady is a no-brainer. Carolina, Teddy Bridgewater, unless they draft a quarterback who they think that can start. I don't know. Falcons is kind of really my landing place for Justin Fields. I did pick the Eagles just now, but I just realized I had earmarked Justin Fields here, and they trade Matt Ryan. That's kind of where I stand there. So again, all just my own little take on takes balls to put your face on it, right? Believe me, I know that after this week I've had some issues with some people. So I had a post about Justin Johnson guys and opting out of Duke, quitting on a team, and I got some bad reaction to that. I got called some pretty bad names. But again, I appreciate people's opinions, I guess. Let me jump quickly, and I'm probably going to get off baseball after real quick, and we'll probably go to hockey when I want to talk about the Frozen, the outdoor classic yesterday and the issues that went on there. I don't necessarily diss the Jets though, Bill. I do because there's no reason to give them credit for anything. If they were to make a smart move, I like their head coaching selection. I think they're heading the right direction with that early on. But I think they've got a quarterback, and I think they should be drafting weapons to go with him at number 2. That's just me. Let's talk about Major League Baseball just a little bit. Pitchers and catchers reported this week. I might have to save some of my baseball for next week, but pitchers and catchers reported this week. Big story. Position players soon to follow. Fernando Tatis signs a 14-year, $340 million contract. I said earlier, guys are worth whatever teams want to pay them. But when you lock yourself up, and I know there's some outs for the player, there's some outs for the team built into this contract, surely. I think the outs are all for the player, to be honest with you. And it's possible if salaries continue to skyrocket, which I don't think they're going to do. I think they're probably going to level off here the next few years because of COVID and the economics of the game. But 14 years is a long time. It's guaranteed money, guys. This isn't the NFL. Fernando Tatis Jr. gets hurt next week. They owe him $340 million. And we find out on the back end of these players, contracts, guys aren't as good. Now, he is a young guy. He's not Albert Pujols, at 30 years old, signing a 10-year contract, 12-year contract, whatever it was, and not able to fulfill adequately the back end of that contract for the money that's left. But teams know this. They sign guys to these long contracts, knowing that they're going to try to get money up front or get the production up front, and knowing that they're going to pay for it on the back end. Yeah, Friday. I agree, Keith. Friday, baseball has to go back to the way things was created. Well, I don't know if we have to go back to the way it was created, but I'd like to get back to the way the game used to be played. And I'm not talking about the economics. The Padres have a right to do whatever they want. Tatis has a right to do whatever he wants. He could be hurting himself here. He does have an opt-out after 6 years or something like that, which, again, he may very well do. He's protecting his family this way. See you later, Kenny, by the way. Thanks for showing up today. It's just, I don't know. These long contracts don't ever seem to work out. The Angels are hamstrung right now with Pujols, right? The Yankees got hurt by the signing CC Sabathia for a while until his contract ran out, and they actually signed him to a more player-friendly contract. But it happens a lot, guys. These long contracts. I thought we were gonna see teams moving away from this, and now the Padres, who have just, I don't know how they're going to maintain that roster there. Kenny. Oh my God, Billy's out of control again. I don't know how they're going to continue to. The Padres, again, they're not the Dodgers. They don't have the deep pockets the Dodgers have or the Yankees have. I don't know. They've made a lot of bold moves, and they're really going to challenge the Dodgers in the West this year. But I'm not sure how this is going to work out. Time will tell. I thought we'd go back to shorter term contracts, doing things like what the Yankees did with and actually it wasn't that short a term. With LeMahieu was perfect. Good for the player, good for the team. We don't find many of those anymore. The trend is to lock up young stars now to avoid Pujols type issues. Get you. I got it, Drew. I get it. Doesn't mean issues can't open up for young guys over 14 years. You know, again, so if something happens with Fernando Tatis Jr. tomorrow, they're on the hook for $340 million. Well, they probably insure him, whatever. I don't begrudge the players. I really never will begrudge the player, ever. Juan Soto's next. Washington's got issues. They signed Juan Soto for 14 years and $340 million. I'll be shocked. And again, you're going to see the price, if you don't mind paying premium prices, if you want to see the price of the cost of what it costs you to watch games go up, we always pay the price. Again, I don't fault the players in this situation. I really don't. It's the owners. One bad guy, one dumb owner, all as it takes to throw the whole economic balance of the game off every time it's happened. Started with George Steinbrenner. Yep, George Steinbrenner. But there's lots of dumb owners now. You know, Drew, you should be happy with the Mets dodging a bullet. Not for the money. Guy's a great pitcher. Worth it. Bad actor. Don't need that personality in the clubhouse if you want to be a winner. You just don't. How'd Cincinnati do last year? Anyway, I'm going to move on. Gardy's back with the Yankees. That's great news here for you, Yankee fan. 1-year contract. Gardy might play until he's Tom Brady's age. I don't know. But I think it's a good move for the Yankees. I mean, their outfield depth was non-existent. Talkman was really all they had. I doubt that they're done with probably some of these. They'll bring some more non-roster guys in. Probably sign guys during the course of the season. Fine. Young players recover quicker. Build a team around them with smaller contracts. I'm with that. You know, anytime you sign, you can't look. You don't have a crystal ball 14 years into the future. I don't think any team ought to be doing this. It's not economically sound way to operate a franchise. Definitely makes more sense. Oh, I'm boring and nobody likes my streams. Awesome. I have a fan. Check it out, guys. All right, I'm boring and nobody likes my streams. That's awesome. Thanks for watching, whoever this is. Glad you put your name to your post, by the way. My name and my face is here. I got an idea who this is, but it's possible I had some interaction with him. End this stream. My gosh, good grief. Hey, I'm not a professional. I'm an amateur having some fun. Sorry, you can't. If you don't like it, there's 1 million other of these shows you can go watch, dude. Oh, gosh. Anyway. First one of those I had. I know, they don't have a courage to put up their picture. It's very funny, Rick. That's the first one I've had, though, so I'm actually excited that I got somebody watching the show that doesn't like it. I don't know why. It's very weird, weird thing, but I do like the fact that he's unhappy with the show. Makes me happy. I have found recently that I'm happy when guys are unhappy with some of the posts that I put up, so I'm good with that. Where was I? I was going to get into there's a lot of issues, and we got some time. Probably next week's show I'll get more into it. I spent more time in the NFL today than I wanted to. Got to spend time on the NCAA, so probably the NBA is going to take a back seat the next few weeks. Is it the copyright guy? Good thought. Maybe it's the copyright guy. No, it might be the guy who disagreed with my Jalen Johnson post this week, which I didn't really put an opinion on. I have an opinion on it, but I didn't really comment. I just shared a comment that said he quit on his team, which I think he did. Not a good move. Doesn't show much character for the kid. Sorry. If our whole society worked like that, how we'd be a society of quitters. We would just, every time we were unhappy with our playing time, or we thought we were set, and I guess it doesn't work in real life when you think you're set for the next, you think you're set for your next position, you just quit. You don't give any notice, you just walk away. May not be him. Anyway. We're going to get into baseball. I really want to get into baseball. I got Jim Beringer coming up here in a few minutes, so we'll talk a little bit more. Drew, if you got anything Drew got a comment here I wanted to bring up. Yeah, good point. I missed this one, Drew. Got to find the right mouse. Taijuan Walker. Tawan, tell me how to say his name, Drew. Walker part I got. Great pickup. I agree. Whether he's better than Bauer as a pitcher is questionable. I think when he's healthy, he is as good. His health has been a problem over the recent years, but again, I think it's a great signing by the Mets. And if you're going to say whether for a guy to have in your ball club, a Walker is much better than Bauer. If I'm a Met fan, I'm happy with that. Because I talked about this last week, Drew, and I don't think you were here. Hold on. Billy's giving me the pronunciation here. Oh, they both are. Hold on. Taijuan. Taijuan. All right. Well, I got two different ones. I don't know what that means. Just tell me to say TJ. Taijuan. What'd I say? Taijuan. Whatever. We all know who I'm talking about. I had mentioned here last week, I don't know that you were here, Drew. I had Mac McGrath on from the Mac and Jack show. We were talking about the Yankees and the Mets a bit. And I thought the Yankees had the same problem with their rotation. The Yankees and the Mets had the same problem with their rotation. You got one great guy up front and a bunch of question marks behind them. And not that Walker's not going to be a question mark health-wise. I mean, if the Yankees guys all pan out, they got a really good rotation. If the Mets guys all pan out, they got a really good rotation. And Drew was away last week. Now, the difference is the Yankees have a tremendous bullpen, and the Mets don't. One place I thought the Mets really have had a hiccup this offseason, Drew, and others, is their bullpen. They didn't address it. Except for bringing in May. I don't think that's enough. Mac and whispers. And Mac and Jack. Jack's got a new microphone now. So the Mets, you look at the Mets have made a lot of really, really good, bold moves this offseason. It's obviously the culture and the mindset has changed with Cohen in charge. They made some bad moves with their GM and that type of thing. But on the field, the only place I give them a C- at best is the bullpen. Who's gonna be there? Who's gonna make a difference that you see improving over last year? How many chances are they gonna give some of these guys? I mean, gosh, guys, I don't know. If I'm a Met fan, I worry about the bullpen now. And especially since it's such a big part of the game today. If I had a starting staff and we were going, 7, 8, 9 innings all the time, I guess I wouldn't care. But the game isn't that anymore. You get 5 or 6 innings out of your starter, you're paying the most money, and you're happy. Games change a lot of ways. Anyway, we'll talk more baseball maybe after this next segment. But what I want to do is bring in my my resident hockey expert to talk mostly about yesterday's outdoor classic. Jim Beringer hosts the Last Word on Hockey, and he's I think the newest member of Northeast Streaming Sports, and I want to officially welcome him this morning. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fabulous, thank you. I want to officially welcome you to Northeast Streaming Sports.
It's great to be on Northeast Streaming Sports. Working on my studio to get everything set up, but I am proud to announce that I will be joining Northeast Streaming Sports. So some breaking news on your show today.
Well, we're glad to have you because you got, as we were sharing some of our shows back and forth, you have a lot. You guys do a really good show on hockey, and you certainly know a ton more about hockey than I do. And I needed a guy to come on and talk about hockey. You're my go-to guy now, so I appreciate you coming on short notice. I couldn't help, and I had to get somebody on because I wanted to chat about yesterday's outdoor classic, and it's a shame because I mentioned earlier in the show that, outside of the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's kind of the showcase of the league, right? And yesterday was kind of I don't even know how to describe it, but what are your thoughts on what went on there yesterday?
It was great to see the game being played at Lake Tahoe, and you got to give credit to where credit is due. The NHL does these outdoor games like nobody else does. And you know what? They took a risk. Some risks pay off, some don't. But in a year where things are weird and it's pandemic, of course something was going to go wrong. The sun was going to show itself. When you were looking at the forecast, you looked at Saturday and you're like, oh, overcast 30, it's going to be perfect. Nah, sun comes out, Lake Tahoe. And when you're 6,000 feet above sea level, that's what happens. The ice just melts and it looks bad. But you know what? The scenery at the beginning of the game, players lined up on the blue line, the anthem, the overhead shots from the drone, that was picturesque, and I think that's what the NHL wanted. Now, granted, after the first period, they had to delay the game to midnight Eastern, and is playing at 9 p.m. local time. And I didn't stay up for the game. I would DVR'd it, watched it when I got up. But you know what? It looked good under the lights, and it looked better than it did during the day because the game was a lot better and the ice was a lot better.
Yeah. After they stopped the game, if I'm right, after the first period, with the Avalanche ahead. And I read some reports this morning that some of the players were upset that they stopped the game. Were the conditions dangerous for the players?
Yeah, if you were watching the game, you could tell that the referees were having a problem with the ice. A lot of players were just falling, toe picking.
Yeah.
because of the ice conditions. The ice was melting really quick. The cooling system was not on for the sun to be out. It was really on for overcast skies. So the cooling system had to be adjusted to where it could freeze a lot better. And yeah, some players, talking with some people there, some players did want to play, others didn't. But it was a collaborative effort between the NHLPA, the NHL, and the guys on site, the ice crew guys, Dan King's guys, that decided, you know what, out of player safety, we don't want anybody getting hurt. We're going to just get the ice to where we needed to get it, play it later in the day, play it under the lights. Yeah, it's not great for people on the East Coast, but they needed to play the game in because you're not going to be able to play 2 games on that ice outdoors because the Flyers and Bruins play later today on Lake Tahoe, and there was talk about playing it, in the morning over there, but the problem is you beat up for 2 periods, you're not going to have it ready for a second game. It's not like it's an indoor facility where you could play 3-4 games in a day, and even then the ice gets beat up later in the day. So they made the right call, play it later in the day. Now we have a second game today, which will be played at 7:30 Eastern. Originally supposed to be played at 2, but because the NHL didn't want to go through the same thing again, pushed it back to 7:30 Eastern time. The Devils and Capitals will be on at 2 p.m. on NBC, and you can find the outdoor game on NBCSN.
And is this the only outdoor classic scheduled this year with these 2 games?
Yeah, this was it. Obviously, the Winter Classic is supposed to happen on New Year's Day. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
They couldn't have it. Normally, it's usually like 1 or 2 games a year for these outdoor classics. These are great picturesque settings. They kind of put this one together pretty quickly. They wanted to do something for the TV. Obviously, you need to have an outdoor game. I mean, you didn't have to, but the NHL, with the TV contracts and everything, you want to have an outdoor game. So they decided to put that one together. Originally, this game was supposed to be played in Lake Louise, but because of obviously border and quarantine issues in Canada and sponsorship issues, they couldn't do that.
Yeah, and let me ask you, I mean, because it is kind of a really cool thing, I think, the whole idea of it. I remember when they first started it. I can't remember where the first one was.
2008 in Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah. There's been days where there's been snow, and it's kind of cool to watch hockey being played in the snow. There was one game that was foggier in hell, I know, and that was a little difficult. Probably the worst conditions, I would think, before yesterday's issues. I don't remember what year that was, but it's a very successful endeavor by the NHL. Do you think they should do this more?
Personally, I think personally you should do like 1 or 2 games a year. Have the Winter Classic and then have another Stadium Series game. There was one year where they had like 4 or 5 of them in a year, and it was just too much. Obviously, look, these outdoor games, I've been to 3 of them. I went to one in Calgary, Heritage Classic. That was awesome. It was cold. I went to the Winter Classic in Michigan with my buddy Eli. That was fun. It was snowy. The fans were awesome in the big house, 1,000+ people watching a hockey game. Toronto and Detroit, couldn't ask for a better game. Shootout in the snow. Then I was in the Stadium Series, Devils Rangers. That game had actually be delayed because of sun. They had to push it back a couple of hours. They moved it back. But it's a spectacle. It's like the All-Star game. It's a spectacle for the city, for the fans, for the sponsors, for everybody there. It's not about the product on the ice. Sometimes the games are good. Most times the games are bad. If you're a hockey fan and you watch these games, you know the games are not going to be perfect. The conditions are not the greatest when you play outdoor hockey. It's just admit it. But it's a spectacle for everybody, and that's what makes it great. And that's why they keep doing it, because until fans stop buying tickets to go, they're not going to stop these things. I had a buddy at the 2008 one in Buffalo said it was awesome. I know other people that went to other games, and the game you're talking about with that fog was that Pittsburgh game where it was rainy and it was foggy with Washington where Crosby got hurt. So yeah, the conditions have to be like perfect. And yesterday it wasn't. Most times it isn't. It snows. It's cold.
I think the snow's kind of cool. I don't know if you can keep it from, a foot of snow on the ice wouldn't be good, obviously, but a little bit of snow flurries is kind of cool.
A little bit of snow. I mean, I remember the game in Buffalo and in Michigan. It was coming down really good. Like every so often, they had to stop to scrape the ice. So that's tough to do. But you want I remember they had a game out in L.A. They played at Dodger Stadium. That was cool. It was warm. Actually, the players said that was the best ice they ever had because it was close to what the indoor was.
Yeah.
I mean, all these games are great. I mean, it's outdoor hockey. You're going to watch it, even though, you may be tired of it. You're going to watch it. I personally like these different settings. When they went to Air Force, they did a game at Annapolis. I'm hoping they go to Mikey Stadium for a game. That would be cool just because it's West Point. So these stadium series games are pretty cool. So again, it's going to happen. Personally, like I said, I think 2 would be good, ideal for a year. Have the Winter Classic and then have another game someplace.
Cool. What are some of the upcoming sites they're looking at for the Winter Classic? Do you know?
So I know Minnesota was supposed to have the game this year. Most likely they'll go back to it next year for the Winter Classic. They haven't announced it yet, but most likely they're going to go back next year. That's what they did during the lockout when the Big House was supposed to have it. They just pushed it back a year. Originally, this weekend was supposed to be the game in North Carolina at the NC State football stadium with the Hurricanes. That would actually have been pretty cool. I think they're going to look back to that. Obviously, Mikey Stadium's another one. They're probably going to look to do a game in Vegas at some point down the road. Like I said, probably they may revisit the Lake Louise game. I'm going to imagine probably another game in Boston someplace. They're going to look to these unique venues, probably down in Tampa, maybe have a game. It's, again, where they can have the ice. So that's really where they want to do it. Most likely, ideally, be cold weather cities and places that haven't had a game before.
Yeah. I got a question from one of our viewers asking about any international hockey other than Canada and then competing against each other. I guess he's talking about international competition with NHL players. Is there anything on the horizon there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there are leagues around the world, Europe, Russia, Czech leagues that play all year round. But the international competition is the World Championships, which hopefully will be played this year. Obviously, last year in Switzerland, they were canceled because of the pandemic. Hopefully, they have the Men's Worlds and Women's Worlds this year. And then the 2022 Olympics, where NHL players will be playing against each other next year at the Beijing Olympics.
So the NHL is involved with the Olympics again, this coming.
That's my understanding, is that was part of the collective bargaining agreement, that they would be going back to the Olympics. Now, I'll believe it when I see it, because I know, talking to a lot of people, that some of the players are hesitant to go over to China right now because of what's going on.
Yeah.
So we'll see where everything is next year come Olympic time. But they are scheduled to go back.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought even before COVID, I thought there was talk about the NHL players pulling out of the Olympic competition, but I may have misread that situation.
There's been some talks about it. It was part of the collective bargaining agreement that they agreed upon, that the players really wanted to go back to the Olympics because they didn't go in 2018. So now they're going to go back, and we'll see. The big thing with the NHL going back is now they're getting a piece of the revenue. They're going to be able to use images on their site. Before, the big issue was they weren't getting a piece of it. They couldn't use anything from the IIHF. They couldn't use anything from the IOC. The insurance was an issue. I think all of that's been taken care of so that they can go back.
Great. Well, while I've got you, Jim, it's funny because I heard you mention NBC Sports Network earlier. What's going to happen with the NHL and their television contract once NBC Sports shuts down?
So, as we saw last year during the playoffs and throughout the last couple of years, NBC is using all their networks to broadcast the playoffs, USA mainly being the big thing. That's where they're going to shift a lot of their sports to, is USA, because it gets a bigger reach than NBC Sports Network. Yeah. I'm told that ESPN will be a part of the next TV deal for the National Hockey League. Obviously, right now, if you sign up for ESPN Plus, you can get games streaming simulcasted on ESPN Plus, and they have a lot of good games. So I'm going to imagine that's part of the package. Now, the question is for ESPN is when they get it, do they get playoff games as well? Because my understanding is that that's a big part of the deal that they negotiate with the NHL and whoever that they wanted is that they wanted playoff games because that's where the money's made. Now, it's good. There's definitely going to be another network involved, whether it's NBC, whether it's Fox, who knows. But if NBC is involved, most likely that they'll shift the Wednesday night games that are on NBCSN and the weekend games over to USA, which makes sense because that's what they're doing. We'll see who else is involved. I mean, Fox, that would be great. They want to get hockey back. They had it for a while. But having ESPN back is good for the National Hockey League since they lost it during that lockout.
Well, it's a big step forward for the NHL from the last time maybe not the last time, but not too long ago when they were negotiating TV contracts, they were basically paying networks so they get the games broadcast. So the NHL's made great leaps since that point.
Yeah, and their TV contract now that runs out isn't the greatest, hence why they had to do all these different advertising on helmets, on the boards, on the ice to generate more revenue because they have the worst TV contract in all professional sports. And they're going to be looking to get similar to what the NBA has. I'm not going to say they're going to get what the NBA has, but they want to get that revenue so they can distribute it to the 31, 32 teams that makes, just in case they can't have full capacity stadiums to begin the year, the difference is made up in the TV revenue, like what the NFL had, like what the NBA has. That way they don't have to worry about, because the NHL is a gate-driven league. Everybody knows it. And so to have a better TV contract, and not to mention streaming is going to be involved. They might have a streaming network. So they're going to do better in the next time around, because it's the NHL product and everyone wants the playoffs and everyone wants to watch the games, and you're going to be able to find it because streaming is the new way, and traditional TV will still be there, but people watch in different means now.
That's absolutely true in everything. Well, since I got you, I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions because since I asked you to pop in for 15 minutes, I'm going to grab you a little bit longer if you got
Sounds
it.
good. No, I got time.
I got a couple of quick questions because I was looking at the latest power rankings ESPN put out, and I mean, obviously, I'm a Ranger fan. The Rangers just are not turning it around. You and I talked a few weeks ago about how they would.
They're playing better. They're playing better. These last two games, they're playing better.
So I think they deserve their ranking down low. But your team, you're a Devils fan, I believe, from noticing the banners.
Yep.
I feel like they're not getting the respect they deserve, ranked at 22. What do you think about that?
I mean, the Devils always fly under the radar anyway. The more respect you give them, the more expectations there are. The fan base goes crazy, and they think, the world's ending when they don't live up to them. Their start is really good, considering the division they're in. They took 5 of 6 points from Boston already. They got Washington today. So that's going to be a tough challenge. I think their loss against Buffalo, that was a bad loss. If you want to be a team that competes in that division, you're going to have to win games against Buffalo. Yeah. But they're off to a good start. I mean, to tell me 6-4-2 to begin the year, I'll take that, considering their last 3 games they are on a 16-day break because of COVID. I'll take 2 wins out of 3 games and having your legs. I mean, obviously yesterday's game, they showed better. They showed their legs in the third period. They were a better third period team, but they didn't play a complete game. But to start the year like that, I'll take it as a Devils fan and as somebody who covers the team. You got to be happy with the start. Yeah, and I guess the local, New York local area team that jumped up the most, I think, in the rankings this week was the Islanders, who had a good recent spurt. Yeah, the Islanders, they had points in their last, I believe, 8 or 9 games. They lost last night to Pittsburgh, one of their rivals. Crosby, 1,000 games. But you know what? The Islanders are playing. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be Washington, Philly, Boston, Islanders, and you could say Pittsburgh, New Jersey, maybe New York battling for that last playoff spot in the East because it's such a tough division to play in. Boston's so good. Philadelphia is good. That's going to be a big game today, obviously in Lake Tahoe. Devils play Washington. So a lot of these is like I've been saying, there's 4 leagues inside of one league this year. You're watching so many games and so many good teams out there you want to watch.
Yeah. What about the and I know you and I had this conversation not too long after I had you on the show that watch out for the COVID situation, because it was about to be some big stories, and obviously, like every sports league, both pro and college, there's been some issues. What's the COVID situation like around the league right now, and what direction do you see it going?
It's a lot better than it was. If you had me on 2 weeks ago, I would have said that the NHL has handled COVID situation poorly, and I still think they did, because the Devils situation opened my eyes talking to a lot of people, because the day before they were supposed to fly up to Buffalo at the end of January, one of their players, Travis Zajac, who will play in his 1,000th game today against the Washington Capitals, tested positive for COVID. The team asked if they should still make the trip. The NHL said yes. They went up. One of the other players in the game, Kyle Palmieri, was tested positive prior to the Sunday game on the 31st, had played on Saturday's game. Then the team played against Buffalo. Buffalo had some concerns. And then the next day you saw 12 Devils on the COVID list. Then you saw 4 players on Buffalo. Ristolainen, Rasmus Ristolainen, their defenseman, still feeling effects from COVID. Hasn't been back yet. Ralph Kruger, their coach, tested positive. Multiple Devils players tested positive for COVID. So that opened my eyes to say, hey, wait a minute, why were these games played? How did the NHL handle this? They didn't really handle it well. They rescheduled all these games, still rescheduling games because of it. And then after that, you saw Minnesota have issues. Flyers have issues now. But it seems to be more under control. Every league went through it where it's like, all right, we have 1 week where it's really, really bad. They thought maybe the one thing the NHL didn't want to do was pause the season, because they can't. But they really should have built in more back-end weeks into the season. They should have just stuck to 48 games and then backloaded the schedule in case they needed to reschedule games because of COVID. But right now it seems to be, knock on wood, better than it was. But I still think that you're still going to see it even with all the adjustments they made.
It's funny. It seems like every league has, when they came back, has had some issue. Well, not last year with the NHL and the NBA, because they went into bubbles, right? But when Major League Baseball came back, they had an issue, but then they kind of figured it out and they got it under control. The NBA had some issues this year and they figured it out and got it under control. The NFL had some issues, but by the end of the season, they pretty much had it under control. So hopefully, now with the arena's opening up. And again, I don't know, is Jersey opening? I know New York is going to have fans allowed, right?
Not yet. Jersey's not opening yet. I've been told not yet. Now, there are other rumblings around that say, 10%, 15%. I'll believe it when Governor Murphy says that it is open, not allowed to have fans. I know the Rangers and Islanders will have fans in their building. Now, again, look at those rules. I say you're going to have 10% fans, but you have to have a negative COVID test 72 hours prior to your game. Your body vitals can change within 72 hours when you have that test. Are you supposed to get it 72 hours before the game, and then your negative test comes back on the day of the game? So I'll see how many fans actually show up, and I'll be in the games. It'll be nice to have them in the building, but I would have waited a little bit longer. But hey, like I said, the NHL is a gate-driven league. They need the revenue. But it's interesting to see that have some fans that have to come back. Obviously, we see it down south. If you watch the Panthers, Lightning game, Coyotes have fans in the building. So little by little, Columbus will have some back starting in March. Philadelphia will have some starting in March. So little by little, they'll start to come back. I think once everybody starts to get vaccinated a little bit more, we're going to see it. And hopefully by playoff time, we'll have maybe 20, 25% fans in the building.
Well, I hope we're all just smart, like everything else in life, right? My concern is, and again, not to make it about the vaccines and everything else, but my concern is once we start getting vaccinated, people just don't take the precautions they need to still take because they think they're invincible now, or they can't cause problems for people who have not been vaccinated, right? So
yeah, exactly. Just be smart about it. Like like I said, for me this year, I'll just be doing all my games from the house. It's just easier. Just don't want to risk it going down to Newark and all the other places. Maybe come playoff time, I'll sneak around and see where we can get into. But as of right now, I'm just going to stay at home, watch the games, cover the games, and do what I have to do because it's just a little bit easier. I know for media it's different to get in the games and stuff, but it's just to be on the safe side for now till everything just calms down a bit. I'll be watching the games from home and have my eye on a few games. Few teams that I'll be watching myself, watching them progress.
Well, better safe than sorry. And hopefully by the time the Stanley Cup playoffs come around, things will be a lot better and we'll be able to enjoy them in person, those that want to. And listen, Jim, I want to thank you for coming on today on short notice. I want to again welcome you to the network. You bring a lot of great hockey knowledge to the network and to my show. So thank you for that. Regardless of one anonymous user I have here, I just blocked him because his last comment was very disparaging, and hopefully you don't see it.
It's all good.
This guy, I've never had one of these guys, and I told my viewers, they were telling me I'll just ignore it. I'm like, I'm excited. I got a guy that hates me.
Hey, you know what? There are always haters out there, so you know what? That's fun. Just want to, like I said, I want to give a shout out Travis Zajac. Quick fun stat about Travis Zajac's 1,000th game today. The coach he debuted against in 2006, Peter Laviolette, will be the same coach he suits up for against him in his 1,000th game because Laviolette coaches the Capitals. So little fun stat for Travis Zajac and his 1,000th game.
That is a cool stat. I love little ironic little stats like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool. So, so Devils in action at 2 p.m. today against the Washington Capitals on NBC. First time in a long time. They've been on the main network.
Awesome. Great to hear. Jim, thanks for coming on today. Thanks for your insight. We'll see you soon. Good luck on the network, and we'll have you back on here soon.
Thanks so much, Keith. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to be a part of this network. It's going to be fun.
All right. You have a great Sunday.
You too. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. That was a great Jim Beringer who really brings a lot of hockey knowledge. I'm a hockey fan, but I am really a hockey fan from 10,000 feet. So I need guys like Jim to help bring me along, and he's done a great job with watching him, getting a grasp of what's going on in the NHL because I don't want to ignore it. I have one of my employees in my real life job that is a ex-hockey player, and he wants me to have more hockey. And I want what people want to see, regardless of my anonymous show hater, which I've now blocked. I'm sorry, dude, but you can't talk like that in the comments. Sorry. Anyway, I think I enjoyed the show today. I didn't get to everything, man. I had a lot to talk about. Drew, if you're still out there, I promise you, baseball is going to be taking the forefront here very soon. I had a lot I wanted to go over in baseball, and I just did not get a chance to get to it today. Football is going to be taking a back seat, although we will be talking about, player movement rumors. We'll be talking about the draft, and we're going to be doing a live draft show. I hope for round 1 at least, maybe round 2 as well, on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network, talking with Mac McGrath about how we're going to make that happen. I think the Philly sports guy is actually going to be at the draft, so we may be able to have some live remote stuff going on. And excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. I think it's going to be an awesome draft this year in the NFL. We're also going to do some stuff with the NCAA tournament. Don't know quite what we're going to do yet. I really wanted to kind of go live during that first couple days. I love those first 2 days of the tournament. And maybe we can make it happen. We'll see how it goes. That's all. Hockey's big time in our area. You're talking about the local area here. You're right, Billy. College hockey for sure is huge. It's a shame we don't have Union RPI playing this year. I love going to the Union games. I haven't been there in quite a while, but I love the atmosphere on the Union campus. So, especially when they're competing for national championships, right? NCAA Division I national championships, Union and RPI have competed for and won. So, anyway, we may do Drew's talking about MLB all day. We may do it next week, Drew. We'll be in full swing of training camps probably. It's hard to do with the NCAA tournament there, but we'll at least do a full hour probably on Major League Baseball next week. So get your topics ready, guys. Send them to me. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about. I am willing to talk about, as long as it's got some interest for everybody. And there's nothing that Drew can bring me I think I would not have interest in. I don't think there's anything any of you wouldn't bring in that we wouldn't have interest in debating. Lots to talk about in the world of sports, and I love doing it. It's a great distraction from real life, and it's something that I enjoy more than anything. I would love bringing you guys this show. I hope you love it. Hope you like it. Hope it helps fill in some of the downtime. I'm not making $1 gazillion here. I'm just having fun. Listen, we'll be back next Friday with Matt Bruss, former St. John's standout. Played for the great Louis Carnesecca. Also played with, there's Billy saying Kyle's a big Clarkson fan. Yeah, there's a lot of great hockey around here, guys. I only mentioned 2 schools. Anyway, Matt Bruss next Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Sunday, we'll go live at 9 a.m. We'll see what's going on in the world of sports at that point in time. More Major League Baseball. We're going to have lots of it. We got a whole summer of it, though, so it's not like we're not going to get lots of Major League Baseball. Guys, you have a great Sunday. We'll see you later. TGI Sports Talk with Keith Engel right here on the NESIP Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Have a great day. Bye-bye.